G'day guys and welcome to ZUU, your home of bodyweight training. Today I'll be talking about how to increase your squats. Everyone wants to increase their squats, so how do we go about doing that? I'll be covering off 3 points: how to squat deeper, mobilize your lumbar, thoracic, and superset, an awesome superset to just blow out those cobwebs. Now guys, any of the movements that I'll be showing for this, please just click it in the link below. Looking forward to helping you understand how to increase your squats. Alright team, how to increase your squats. Now again, I've been teaching bodyweight training, the ZUU bodyweight training system, for over 10 years. So whenever I'm talking to powerlifters, bodybuilders, my background before I had this journey of bodyweight training, I was very well versed training as a powerlifter, and I was doing traditional weights since I was 13 years old. So I know traditional training methods very, very well, but no one had taught me movement. So I can relate very well to bodybuilders, powerlifters, and CrossFitters, all these people who love to lift heavy weights. They're looking for ways to increase their squats. So guys, let's first talk about how to squat deeper. So many people are focused on form. Don't get me wrong, form is everything to do with it. But for me, so many people get technical far too quickly. I'm based over here in the USA, and all USA coaches are very well versed, but most of them just get too technical too quickly. And they forget, just get people moving first. Get them to move first, because when you move, it pinpoints dysfunction. Do you understand that? When you move, it pinpoints dysfunction. I'm a specialist, so I can see dysfunction when you move. Better than that, when you move, you feel dysfunction. That's gold. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was consulting with a Russian bodybuilder, I asked him to do one of the movements. That will be in the link. When I teach you these movements, remember the link below, I'll show you these movements. I was working with this Russian bodybuilder. I asked him to do one movement for me. He just went about 5 meters up. He came back and then he looked at me and he said, "Is it normal that I feel a very strong pull in my top insertion of my hamstring on my left leg?" And I said to him, "What do you think?" And he said, "Well, no, I'm guessing it's not normal." I said, "Of course it's not normal." But how did he find that? I wouldn't have picked it up by just him walking around. But when I asked him to do movement, I could see from the way he was moving, but better than that, he felt it. Does that make sense to you guys? So how to squat deeper is all about you understanding how your body moves. And you have to learn bodyweight movements to increase your depth of squatting. Let me put it another way, guys. If you can't squat deep with just your body weight, why are you getting underneath a bar? Why are you loading up a bar and then squatting if you can't do a squat with your own body weight? Because you are at risk of injury. Your spinal column, that is so important. Compression. These people who have this ridiculous form, they can't squat deep, they can't squat properly, and they're loaded up this bar and they're compressing. Even worse, dumb, stupid coaches who are loading up athletes who have poor movement. They're setting these athletes up for injury because they just don't know movements. Okay, so that covers off number 1. How to squat deeper is learning. Number 2, how to use the movements that is in the link below to mobilize your lumbar and your thoracic and open up your gait. Your gait is your hip girdle. Ball and socket joint. I'll teach you these movements to open that up. You will feel it. You won't need me to tell you. You will feel it opening up. And it'll make so much sense to you that as you have this tight sensation that you are trying to open up, you'll be saying to yourself, "I can't believe I have so much weight on my back and I'm going down when just with my body weight I can feel my hips trying to open." Does that make sense? Also your lumbar and your thoracic, in other words your lower back and your middle back, we need to mobilize that. Why is that? Because they are so involved in a squat. I know a squat is very strict with form, but these need to stay mobile. They need to stay mobile, because if they're rigid and something gives and there is no mobility there, you're at risk of a major injury. Does that make sense to you? So we need to open up your hips, we need to mobilize your lumbar, and we need to build mobility in your thoracic or the middle part of your back. Guys, so many power lifters and bodybuilders for that matter don't think bodyweight movements are relevant. They look at me, I don't look that heavy, but I can lift it's power to weight, right? It's power to weight. So I earn their respect. In other words, I go and train with them. And they look at me, I'm 147 pounds, 149 pounds, something like that. And they look at me and they're like, man, you can still move some weight, Nate. And then I do some movements and they say, I can't do any movements like that. So in other words, I shift steel with them to earn their respect, to build a common ground to talk about movement from. Then when I say to them, can I show you a movement that will help reduce risk of injuries? It'll help you squat deeper and increase your squats so you can get better glute activation, so you can build better quads, you can have a better physique. They're all ears because none of their coaches are teaching them movements. Lots of them are doing rolling and they're doing all these other modalities, which in my opinion are way down the ladder. Up top should be movement. Pure movement, because you can't hide when you're doing pure movement. So when I say to them, look, you don't need to do this for conditioning or anything like that. I just want you to use it to mobilize, open up, speak their language, open up your hips so you can squat deeper, less risk of injuries, squat deeper, activate those glutes more so you can drive out from that deep squat phase. And while we're doing that, they have this epiphany. In other words, they build this feedback loop where their body starts to talk to them and they understand that I don't need to do bodyweight movements maybe like Nate, where he's doing it a lot quicker for the conditioning but also strength component. If I'm a power lifter, and guys, I've worked with so many power lifters that would do these movements in the link below, they would do these movements for 6 or 8 reps, maybe 30 seconds, nice and slow. It's one-on-one movement prep. Does that make sense? This is how I prep athletes to reduce the risk of injuries first, to then increase their genetic potential or increase their athletic output. I have to go through a very specific process, so I make sure as their coach I've reduced the risk of injury and now I can increase their athletic performance. Hardly any coaches are using bodyweight movement. Stupid, because they have no idea. I live and breathe this stuff, okay? I live and breathe it. Let's go to number 3. Superset. This is a really cool superset that I want you to try next time you're in the gym. Once you learn these movements, the superset that I want you to try with one of the movements, it's called frogs. It's called a frog squat. I should write it out for you. 8, 10, 12. With frog squats, and the frogs will be 20, 30, and 40 seconds. So how does this superset work? Load up your bar to around 75%. Okay, start with around 75% of your maximum. Start with 8 reps. You'll learn these movements. You'll be doing them for movement prep before you do this drill. And I'd love you to do this superset to blow out the cobwebs, okay? Blow through that plateau that you might have with squatting. 8 reps, and then when you rack it, come back out. 20 seconds of frog squats. Then go straight back in. 10 reps, come back out. 30 seconds of frog squats. By the time you walk in, you'll be buckling. Your legs will be buckling as you walk back in. It's so cool. You'll be walking in and you might need to drop some weight, okay? Stay safe, drop some weight, and you've got to try and get out 12. And then you've got to come out and try and get 40 seconds of frog squats. It is excruciatingly wonderful. It's wonderful, guys, because by the time you come out, like after 10 seconds, your legs are so pumped full of blood. It's like doing cycling on a hill. You ever cycled on a hill? The cyclists who are listening in go, yep, because on a hill, you can't stop. You fall off or you go backwards. So they can't stop. Does that make sense? So when you do this, man, have that same mentality. I can't stop. I've just got to push through, push through, push through. What goes up must come down. So if you're brave enough, if you really want to push through that plateau, if you really want to understand the value that movement can add to traditional training methods. Traditional training can't add value to body weight. I'll say that again. Traditional training of weights adds no value to body weight training because all of this is in set planes of movement where the human body moves on all different angles. So when you get good at body weight, it increases every other training modality on earth. Does that not make sense? So guys, what goes up must come down. Quickly again, 8 reps, 20 seconds of frogs, 10 reps, 30 seconds, 12 reps, good luck, 40 seconds. And if you're good enough, what goes up must come down. You'll need to strip off the bar. All right. Guys, that pretty much wraps it up. If you thought this was wonderful information and you want to share it with your friends, your family, those who want to squat deeper, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. And again, the movements I'm about to show you guys to mobilize your lumbar, your thoracic section, and to help you use it for this superset will be in the link below. Looking forward to seeing you out there on the paddock.